My fiancé cheated, lied, and dragged my first love through the mud, then asked for forgiveness. So I exposed everything and cut off the whole family. I discovered that my fiancée, Marie, cheated on me with her ex. And her excuse? She said she felt insecure because of my ex, Samia. Honestly, it's the most ridiculous excuse I've ever heard. But what hurts even more is that everyone around me agrees with her and keeps pressuring me to forgive her. That's why I want to hear the opinion of people who aren't involved. I'll try to give some background. It might be a bit long. Samia and I go way back. We met when we were just 3 years old. Her mom was a nanny at our house, caring for several kids, including me. We became so inseparable that our mothers grew close and eventually decided to enroll us in the same school. From that point on, I basically spent my whole childhood with Samia, up until I was 13. People used to call us the Siamese twins back then. We bickered a lot like typical kids, but we always stuck together. Our closeness made us outcasts among other kids, but we didn't care as long as we had each other. When we were around 11, our families began to think our relationship wasn't healthy and insisted we make new friends. It was during that forced distance that we realized something deeper. We were in love, but our families were very conservative. She's of Arab descent, and I'm of African descent, so we kept our relationship a secret. One night when I was 13, I made the risky choice to climb through her window to her room on the first floor. I had done it a few times before. We'd usually just talk and sometimes kiss. Nothing more. But that night, her father barged into the room and caught us kissing. He lost it and tried to call the police. I tried to escape back through the window, but I slipped and fell, breaking my arm. The whole neighborhood came out to see what was going on. It became a scandal. Her father had never liked me, and now he wanted to press charges. Even though I wouldn't have faced serious legal trouble at that age, it was still incredibly humiliating for my family. My father, embarrassed and angry, decided to send me to Africa indefinitely, mainly to keep Samia and me apart. I tried to adjust to my new life. Samia did too, but despite the distance, we managed to stay in touch online. And when I returned to France after high school, it felt like we'd never been separated. We resumed our secret relationship. By the time we were 20, we were certain we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. We were naive to think it would be that simple. We decided to tell our families, hoping they would understand. Instead, it was like we'd dropped a bomb. Both families were furious. Each wanted us to marry someone within their own culture. The news created tension not just within the families, but in the whole neighborhood. Even when we were little, people always gossiped about us. Now it was worse. Everyone had an opinion, and none of them were supportive. We tried to stay strong for a year. Samia wanted us to finish our studies in a different city, far from Paris, and away from all the pressure. But my father was very ill at the time, and I chose to stay. When he passed away, I didn't have the strength to keep fighting. I decided to end things with Samia, and she chose to leave the city to continue her studies elsewhere. We lost all contact. I couldn't take living in that judgmental neighborhood anymore, so I moved into the student housing at my university. That year was hell. I still visited my family on weekends, but emotionally, I was drained. Then, one day at a wedding, I met Marie. Her family had just moved into the neighborhood, and we ended up sitting at the same table. The evening was filled with laughter, easy conversation, and honest stories about our pasts. I told her everything about Samia. She told me about her ex. They'd been together for 2 years, but she ended the relationship because she didn't want to sleep with him before marriage. She told him, "If you're serious, marry me," but he wasn't ready. So she walked away. We were two hurting souls, and over time we became friends. We started going out together, but I noticed she grew increasingly irritated whenever I mentioned Samia, so I eventually stopped bringing her up. One day Marie confessed that she had feelings for me. I told her honestly that I still had Samia in my heart. She said this could be a chance to move on. I agreed to try dating her. It felt strange at first being with someone else, but eventually I adjusted and started to care for her. As time passed, her jealousy towards Samia only intensified, even though I never mentioned her again after that first conversation. It was strange how obsessed she became. Since I lived on campus, I wasn't aware of everything being said back in the neighborhood, but apparently, people were gossiping about my past with Samia, telling old stories like when I broke my arm trying to escape through her window. I tried to reassure Marie, told her it was all in the past, but she constantly compared herself to Samia. Sure, Samia was beautiful, that wasn't something I could control, but Marie never even met her, maybe just saw a photo. I always told Marie that she was the most beautiful woman in my eyes, because she was the one who mattered to me now. Still, she couldn't stop comparing. Whenever we did something together, she'd ask if I'd done it before with Samia. What really got to her was the fact that I had once been intimate with Samia. It became exhausting. Despite everything, I asked Marie to marry me. She was from the same culture as mine, which pleased my family. I simply didn't have the strength to fight again over cultural differences. We planned the wedding for August. Perfect timing, since I would be done with my studies in July. Aside from her insecurities, everything seemed fine until 2 weeks ago. That's when I received a call from an unknown number. A guy introduced himself as Marie's ex. He told me they had still been seeing each other and had slept together multiple times. I didn't believe him. I assumed he was trying to ruin our relationship. But then he sent me screenshots of their conversations. I told him those could easily be faked. He asked to meet in person. I thought about warning Marie but decided to go first. I brought 2 of my friends along in case it was some kind of setup. When we met, he showed me everything on his phone, the number, their messages, everything. They had been seeing each other for 2 months, and Marie had ended it only a week before he contacted me. I called Marie right after and told her we needed to talk. Strangely, I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, nothing. It was like I was watching my own life unfold as a film. One of my friends had the good sense to tell me to record the conversation, so I did. When I confronted her, she was stunned. She insisted it wasn't true, said the guy was just trying to destroy what we had, so I showed her the screenshots. She repeated what I had told the guy, that screenshots can be faked. I told her I had met with him and seen the chats on his phone, conversations with details he couldn't possibly know unless they were real. That's when she broke down crying and begged for forgiveness. I was in her room when this happened. Her family heard the commotion and came in. I explained the situation to them, but they didn't believe me. I didn't argue. I just left. Before I could even get home, they had already contacted my family. I told my mother what happened. Apparently, Marie had told everyone that she cheated because I was secretly seeing Samia again. She even claimed Samia had returned to town, something I didn't even know myself. Now everyone's saying it happened because of her. Marie painted herself as the victim, and Samia and I as the villains. I was furious. I decided to cut everyone off. I haven't spoken to anyone in the neighborhood in the last 10 days. I've been staying with a friend from school, and no one knows where I am. I turned off my phone and only talked to my mom via email. Marie's been flooding my inbox with emails, but I delete every single one without reading them. It still amazes me how quickly people defend someone they barely know, just because it's easier than confronting the truth. That's pretty much the story. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do next. Everyone keeps telling me to forgive her, but I can't, not even a little. All I feel is disgust when I think about her, but I'm lost on what steps to take or how to handle everything. It's complicated. Any advice? Hey folks, it's been a while since my first post. I'm 23M. I've received so much support in my DMs, and I can't thank you all enough. Many people asked for an update, so here it is. I've included a link above to my original post for those who need context. The discovery happened right before my finals, so I was in this weird, numb state. It felt like I was running on autopilot. I focused entirely on my exams. Nothing else mattered during that time. And honestly, that focus is what saved me. I needed that. And now, I can finally say I'm officially an engineer. I remained no contact, not just with Marie, 22F, ex-fiancée, but also with her family, my family, and anyone else who felt the need to meddle in my business. But after my exams, when I got back to my apartment, it all hit me, like a massive wave crashing down. I felt drained. I felt abandoned. I felt so anxious about the messages I'd receive once I turned on my phone that I didn't turn it on at all. I just wanted to sleep. People often say they replay moments with their ex like movies in their heads. Well, that's what it felt like. Except in mine, it was always me and Marie, cuddling, kissing, being close. And every time those images came, I felt disgusting. I started scratching myself, trying to shake the feeling off. Then I took a shower. It didn't help. I showered again. That evening, I did it twice. I couldn't sleep in my bed. It reminded me too much of us. I scratched at my skin again, so I laid down on the floor. The next day, every time those images overwhelmed me, I scratched and went to shower to feel clean. I did that 8 times. Now I'm down to 3 or 4 times a day. But honestly, I'm scared. I'm afraid I'll hurt my skin. Has anyone else ever gone through something like this? I really hope this isn't some kind of compulsive mental illness. Eventually, I turned on my phone. The messages started pouring in. Over 200 texts, countless voicemails. I didn't read any of them. I just deleted everything. I didn't have the energy to go through the same guilt-tripping and pressure over and over again. I decided to go to my family's house. I couldn't keep hiding forever. I already knew there'd be people there. It was Saturday after all, but I've never felt more anxious in my life. When I got there, I found my uncle, my father's brother, who's basically declared himself the head of the family since my dad passed. His wife was there too, whom I'll just call the witch, because she is one. Their kids were there, a few family friends, and of course, my siblings, 13M, 9M, and 5F. Strangely, my mother wasn't there. The moment I walked in, my uncle started shouting at me. I didn't even respond. Then my little sister ran into my arms to hug me, and honestly, that moment was a blessing. God, I love that little girl. All my siblings look up to me. I felt guilty for not being there or talking to them all this time. When I'm around on weekends, I help them with homework, tuck the youngest into bed, and tell them the stories our father used to tell me. And when I'm in my apartment, we usually talk every night. We're incredibly close. But my uncle wouldn't stop yelling. I got pissed. I was sitting in front of everyone like I was being judged in some courtroom. The witch asked me if I had regained my sanity. Apparently Marie had changed her story. Now she claimed she never slept with her affair partner. They just kissed. She also said I pressured her so much that she confessed to something she never did. But I know what I saw on that guy's phone. This girl, Marie, I don't even know who she is anymore. She turned out to be manipulative in a way I never saw coming. How does someone hide something so ugly for so long? Or was I just a fool who couldn't see it? Before we started dating, she told me that lying was a deal breaker, that she hated narcissists and emotional abusers more than anything. And now, she's literally become everything she claimed to hate. It's beyond comprehension. At that point, I didn't care anymore. I told everyone exactly what I'd been through. I said they could believe me, someone they've known their whole lives, or her, a near stranger who just happened to offer a version of events that was easier to swallow. Afterward, I broke down. That's when she pulled me in and told me it was okay to cry, that I didn't have to carry all of this alone. She held me tightly and reminded me that I wasn't alone, no matter how isolated I felt. That moment with her made everything crash down. Seeing her cry, for me, not because of her own pain, broke something inside me. My mother has always been the strongest person I know. Even when my father passed away, she stayed composed, smiling for our sake. She kept us going, hiding her pain behind closed doors. Only at night, when she thought we were asleep, did she allow herself to cry. But this was the first time I saw her tears in daylight, and it shattered me. Let me go back to what happened before that, because the madness of that day deserves clarity. They've known Marie for barely over a year, yet they're all defending her as if she's some angel. My aunt, the witch, said Marie's incapable of doing such a thing because she's kind, loving, volunteers in the community. All of that. I told her that was irrelevant. I mean, even Hitler did good things at some point. Evil doesn't cancel out good, and vice versa. My uncle, the ultimate hypocrite, said that if it were true Marie had slept with her affair partner, then yes, I'd be allowed to end the relationship, as if I needed his permission to manage my own life. But then the witch jumped in and said, even if it's true, it was just a mistake made by a young woman. My uncle immediately changed his tune and agreed with her. Just like always, he's the biggest fool I've ever met. The moment his wife says something, he parrots it, no matter what his opinion was 5 seconds earlier. Honestly, I wouldn't even be shocked if he knew she cheated on him and still stayed silent. The man is practically her shadow. He's much smaller than her too. If you saw them walking hand in hand at night, you'd think she was out with her son. Then the witch had the audacity to tell me I needed to confess that Marie only cheated because of Samia, 23F. I stayed calm. I told her I hadn't even heard from Samia in 2 years. My uncle chimed in, saying, well, if it's not about Samia, then you can forgive Marie easily. That's when I snapped. I told him, fine, I'll forgive Marie, if you let me sleep with the witch for 2 months. And that blew the place up. My uncle tried to hit me. Thankfully, some family friends stepped in and held him back. I told them all they were hypocrites, demanding forgiveness from me for something they couldn't even stomach hearing themselves. And I made it clear, no one gets to interfere in my life anymore. The witch cried, and my uncle yelled that I was dead to them, and he'd never forgive me. In that moment, I couldn't care less. I went up to my room, I still have one in that house, and sat there. and I'll admit it, some guilt crept in. They're still my family. I did wonder for a moment if what Marie did could really be forgiven, if maybe AP lied or exaggerated, but then a memory hit me. When I was a child, my parents couldn't always pick me up from school due to work, so our neighbor would look after me. He had kids in the same school. He treated me like his own, gave me little candies, gifts, warmth. I adored him. That same man, who was loved by the whole community, took his own life after discovering his wife had an affair. And a year later, that woman moved to Canada with the kids and her affair partner. Maybe that's where my hatred of cheating comes from. Maybe it was carved into me at that moment. So no, I'm not going to set myself on fire to keep someone else warm. I will not go back to Marie. What I don't understand is why so many people are desperate for me to get back with her. What do they gain from it? How does my misery benefit them? Anyway, after the chaos, my mom came home. I guess someone told her what had happened. She came straight to my room, hugged me, asked about my finals and how I was feeling. She's such a beautiful soul, never loud about her love but always showing it through action. I remember back when I was working a night shift at a fast food restaurant during university. I'd get home around 2 a.m., and she would always be up, waiting for me. She'd reheat my dinner and sit with me, sharing quiet laughs and gentle talks while trying not to wake the rest of the house. We spoke about everything that had happened with my uncle and the witch. I told her the full truth. In my first post, I had only mentioned to her that Marie had cheated, not how deeply she had betrayed me. Until then, my mom thought it had been just a kiss, like everyone else. So when I told her everything, I saw her face shift. She looked crushed, and then she cried. That was the moment I broke down too. All the pain, anger, confusion, betrayal, it came pouring out of me. I couldn't hold it in anymore, and as she held me in her arms, I felt everything I'd been running from hit me at once. She told me she would support any decision I made. My mom went back downstairs, and eventually, everyone left. I didn't ask what she told them, and frankly, I didn't care. I turned off my phone again for the next week. I was exhausted. I spent most of the time sleeping, gaming with my siblings, and just trying to process the pain I was feeling. During that week, my mother received several calls from Marie's parents. She only brought it up once, when she felt I was calm enough to talk about it. Apparently, Marie wasn't doing well. She'd spent some time in the hospital and was on the verge of a breakdown because I hadn't reached out. Her parents begged my mom to ask me for just one meeting, one final conversation. Even though my mom made it clear that I didn't have to do anything I didn't want to, I agreed. We scheduled the meeting for next Saturday. Marie's had control of the narrative this entire time. Now it's my turn to speak. I don't know yet if I'll have them come to my place or if I'll go to theirs, but whatever happens, I'll be ready. In my last post, someone gave me the idea to call Marie's affair partner, AP, pretending I might be open to giving her a second chance, just to see if I could get more proof. So that's what I did yesterday. I'll be meeting him tomorrow, Sunday. He says there's much more to the story than I know. He told me he won't send me any screenshots because he thinks I might show them to Marie, which could ruin his chances of getting her back. But he promised to show and tell me everything in person. So, we'll see. Oh, and about Samia. Many people asked how things are between us. I mentioned in my last post that I planned to contact her to apologize for her name getting dragged into all this, even though it wasn't my fault. But before I could, she reached out to me by email. It wasn't what you'd expect. No soft, emotional message. She was furious. She had no idea why people were blaming her for ruining my relationship, but to her credit, she still asked if I was okay. I saw her message 2 days ago, but I haven't replied yet. I don't even know what to say. My mind's just blank. I feel like a shell of myself right now. Anyway, between meeting Marie, her AP, and her family, it's going to be a lot. I'll keep you all updated. And seriously, thank you. Hey guys. Just a quick update. Yesterday I met up with Marie's AP again. I'm honestly too drained to write every detail because this whole situation is becoming emotionally overwhelming. We met at the same spot as last time. And yes, I recorded everything. Long story short, they were in an on and off relationship for 4 years. And apparently, Marie was never the virgin she claimed to be. He was the first guy she ever slept with, or so she told him. He's still deeply in love with her, even though Marie cheated on him twice during their relationship. Each time, he was willing to forgive and work things out. Then, Marie got pregnant, and she didn't know who the father was. Still, this guy was willing to raise the child as his own. He even said he didn't want a paternity test, But when her parents found out about the pregnancy, they pressured her to get an abortion. The stress took its toll, and she eventually had a miscarriage. Afterward, she fell into a deep depression, and her family decided to relocate for a fresh start. It was around this time that Marie began to call herself a born-again virgin, whatever that's supposed to mean. According to him, she believed her miscarriage was a punishment for the way she used to live. She broke up with him after that, but they stayed friends. So far, he hasn't shown me direct proof of that part of the story. He says he changed phones and lost the original messages, but he did show me ongoing conversations between them during the entire period I've known Marie. In the texts, Marie told him she had met someone, me, who reminded her of the old-school romantic kind of relationship she always dreamed of. Over time, she confided in him more and more whenever she felt insecure in our relationship. He knows nearly everything that happened between us, in shocking detail. He told me things that only Marie and I could possibly know. He also said that Marie didn't actually like me at first. She was fascinated by the idea of me, someone who had experienced a passionate love before, like I had with Samia. She wanted that kind of relationship herself, and I was her chance to recreate it. According to him, Marie doesn't love me. She loves the concept of having me, but she never felt like she fully had me, and that became an obsession. I don't know if the first half of his story, about the pregnancy and their past, is true, but everything he's told me about the time I've known Marie checks out. It's backed by evidence, and the more I think about it, the angrier I get. This feeling is consuming me, and I'm not used to that. I don't like who I become when I sit in that rage. So for now, I've decided I don't want to meet Marie's family. When I told her, she simply nodded. She said she'd already made it clear to them that they needed to respect my decision, just as she would respect any future choice I make. And that was the end of it. After that, Marie's parents didn't push any further. Her mother just nodded silently, and her father, who had barely said a word the entire time, stood up and thanked my mother for her hospitality. Marie still didn't say anything. She looked broken, completely detached from everything. Not once did she look me in the eye. Not once did she apologize with words. I walked them out, and as they left, there was this heavy silence. I stood by the door for a while after they were gone, trying to process what had just happened. I thought I'd feel anger or sadness or maybe even guilt, but I didn't. I just felt tired, drained in a way I can't describe. That night, my mom sat with me. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. She just held my hand and stayed there. That small act gave me a strange sense of peace. I realized then that I was done with all of it. With Marie, the gossip, the drama, the lies, the pressure, all of it. I didn't want to carry any of it forward. I also realized that love, real love, isn't just about butterflies and passion. It's about truth, trust, and the ability to look someone in the eye and know who they are. And with Marie, I never really knew who she was. Maybe she didn't even know herself. As of now, I'm focusing on myself and slowly putting the pieces back together. I've started therapy, and even though I was hesitant at first, it's been helping more than I thought it would. I've been spending more time with my siblings again, and I've picked up a few hobbies I'd neglected while caught in that relationship. I still haven't responded to Samia's message. I've drafted a reply several times, but nothing feels right yet. Maybe I'll send it one day, or maybe it's enough that I've read her words and know she still cares, even just as a friend. This might be my last update, unless something major happens. To all of you who followed this journey, thank you. Your messages, advice, and encouragement meant more than you know. And to anyone going through something similar, please remember your pain is valid. You deserve truth, peace, and the kind of love that doesn't leave you doubting your own worth. Stay strong, heal at your own pace, and don't let anyone else decide what forgiveness should look like for you. The meeting was meant to give everyone closure, not to open the door for reconciliation. My mom made that clear to them. She told them I was traumatized, hadn't been sleeping well, and that I had been acting strangely ever since everything came out, including the compulsive scratching. No one spoke for a while after that. Then Marie asked if she could speak with me alone. She insisted it wasn't to change my mind and that she would accept whatever decision I made. She just wanted to talk one-on-one. I told her I didn't think being alone in a room was a good idea, but we could walk outside if she wanted. She agreed, and we went for a walk, just the two of us, for about half an hour. It was the first time I'd ever seen her so vulnerable. It was also the first time she truly took responsibility for everything. She told me it was true. She had a promiscuous past. There was no trauma behind it. She didn't come from a broken home or any kind of abuse. She had grown up in a loving family. According to her, maybe it was just her nature. She started having sex at 12, and by 15, she was sleeping with multiple partners at once. By 18, she'd already been with more than 40 people, and she said she stopped counting after that. She told me she had never known love before she met me. She looked for it through sex, for affection, for validation. She said she was loved by her AP, and she thought that was enough. She thought he was what she had been looking for. But in the end, she couldn't love him the way he loved her. She couldn't stop sleeping with other people. The only time she felt something close to love was during intimacy, but the feeling would fade quickly, replaced by emptiness. Eventually, she got pregnant. And for the first time, she felt a real kind of love for her unborn child. But she had a miscarriage. That loss made her question everything about her life. Her family decided to move so she could start over. She ended things with AP because she didn't love him romantically, even though he had been good to her. But they stayed friends. Even before she met me, she had heard about me and Samia. The first time was at a small fast food place where Samia and I used to go. We were friends with the owner's son, and he would often take pictures of loyal customers and hang them on the wall. There were 2 photos of me and Samia, one when we were 11, and another when we were 19. The 19-year-old picture had a story behind it, one that most people in the neighborhood knew. It was my birthday. I was born in September, and Samia had worked all summer just to give me the perfect day. She bought me a tuxedo and dressed up in an evening gown. She even rented a limo to pick me up in front of my house. She promised me a magical evening. We got into the limo, and 200 meters later, it stopped. She told me we had arrived. I got out, confused and embarrassed, only to find we were in front of that same modest fast food restaurant. That was her sense of humor, but it was kind of brilliant. We went inside, ordered our usual kebabs, and she bought a muffin, stuck a candle in it, and asked me to make a wish. The owner took a picture right at that moment. He loved retelling the prank, even though, afterward, Samia still gave me the most unforgettable birthday ever. When Marie heard that story, she became intrigued. She asked around for more. People told her bits and pieces. That's when she told herself she wanted to experience that kind of love. So when she met me and realized I was that guy from the photo, she wanted to know me, but she also became intimidated by the story and by who people said I was. That's when she started lying, to hide her past. And by the time she realized she was falling for me, it was too late to tell the truth. She was already too deep. She thought that if she ever told me everything, I'd leave, and she didn't want to lose me. She carried guilt the entire relationship. But despite that, she discovered she truly loved me. For the first time, she felt love that wasn't tied to sex. That's also why, other than her guilt, she couldn't bring herself to sleep with me. She was afraid that if we had sex, the love would disappear, like it always did before. She said our relationship meant everything to her, but deep down, she believed the lies she had built around us meant we had no real future. If I ever found out, it would all come crashing down. That belief made her feel unworthy of me. That's what drove her insecurity. That's what made her hate herself. And eventually, that self-loathing made her sabotage everything. Going back to AP, cheating on me. It was her way of returning to her demons. Reality hit her hard when I discovered the truth, and that's when she truly lost herself. She told me she never realized she was capable of becoming someone so manipulative, so desperate. In her attempt to keep me, she lied, made excuses, tried to guilt me into staying. When she saw none of it would work, she completely broke down. She fainted and ended up in the hospital. She said it wasn't just about losing me, it was about realizing what she had become. And that realization, she claimed, was unbearable. Marie told me she no longer wanted to force me to stay, that even if I did someday forgive her, she could never forgive herself. She said she had started going to therapy, trying to understand why she acted the way she did and who she really was deep down. She admitted it would likely be a long journey, but if I could find even a sliver of compassion to forgive her and help her grow into a better person, she would be forever grateful. I wasn't planning to say yes, but in that moment, hearing her speak, seeing her so raw, I almost agreed to keep in touch just to help her. It was crazy, but I had so much empathy for this woman who had deeply hurt me. Still, I knew the truth. Whatever feelings I once had for her were gone. I told her gently that I needed distance to heal, and that she didn't need me to recover, that she only thought she did, that real healing would come only if she faced things on her own. That was the only way she'd grow. She said she already knew that's what I would say, but if she hadn't tried, she would have regretted it forever. She told me she accepted my decision, but that she wouldn't give up on me. She said she'd dedicate herself to becoming the best version of who she could be, and she believed that someday, our paths would cross again. I wanted to tell her clearly that I could never be with someone who had cheated on me, or even someone who had cheated in any past relationship, but I stayed quiet. Instead, I told her I had moved on, that if I gave her any hope, it wouldn't help her. It would only delay her healing. She didn't respond. We shifted the conversation to lighter topics. Then, her parents called and told her they were already home, so I walked her back to her house. Before leaving, I told her I was going no contact. It was the only way I could truly move forward. She agreed, but said it would be hard since we lived in the same neighborhood and would likely run into each other. She asked me for one last hug. I gave it to her. Then I left. And honestly, I felt lighter afterward. There was no more rage in me, no hate. I still feel that way. Calm. Maybe the anger will return at some point. Healing, after all, isn't linear. But for now, I'm at peace. That's how the meeting ended. And to answer the question many of you asked, yes, I did meet Samia. In fact, we met twice. But I'm not sure this is the right place to talk about that. Maybe I'll post one final update before I leave for my summer vacation, just to let you know what happened and where I'm heading from here. Thank you all, truly. You've been an incredible source of strength, clarity, and support throughout all of this. I'm grateful.